Hi, I'm Lindsay and welcome to Thrive and Belong. Here we help you explore different yoga poses and yoga concepts to help make them feel more accessible to you. In today's video, I'm going to talk to you about Sanskrit. So when I trained as a yoga teacher, I learned that sometimes when teachers use Sanskrit names for poses and weave Sanskrit throughout their teaching, it can make the practice feel inaccessible, particularly for beginners. And it's really important to me that when I'm teaching, I am making sure that my teaching is accessible as possible, especially for beginners. However, what is most important to me when I teach yoga is that I respect yoga's roots, and yoga is Indian and Sanskrit is a major part of our yoga practice. So in this video, I'm going to introduce you to what Sanskrit is, why it's special, and then I'll talk to you about why I think it's so important that we do include Sanskrit in our yoga practice. So Sanskrit is a sacred language. It is very ancient. And we can tell a sacred language apart from other languages because when we're using a sacred language, the purpose is to discover our true nature, so to get closer to the truth of who we really are. So when we're using a sacred language, it's not about getting it right, it's not about being perfect, it's not about achieving anything in particularly. It's about that deepening that connection to who we are and our true state of pure divine bliss. And there are many things that make Sanskrit truly special. So for me, the most special thing about Sanskrit is that it's a vibrational language, and the sounds created within the language express the essence of that which they describe. So this is because Sanskrit was refined over millennia. So what people would do is they would play around with different sounds, play around with how it felt within their body, so that now when we say, for example, the word Ananda in Sanskrit, which means bliss, it literally feels like bliss to say it. And I think that's just so magical. It was originally a language that was sung before it was ever written down. And there was that real sense of community and of connection with the self while singing Sanskrit. Sanskrit was refined, as I've said, over all these years, and then eventually around 500 BC it was solidified, and it hasn't changed since. So this is a very sacred, very ancient language. I've already mentioned earlier on that I believe that Sanskrit is very important when we're respecting yoga's roots. So when I teach yoga classes, and you'll notice if you're in my Patreon membership, that I use the Sanskrit names for poses. I don't just use the English name, and a big part of that is about respecting yoga's roots. And in an effort to make it accessible, I do include the English names as well. Sometimes I'll flip between the two, but it's really important to me that I don't neglect the Sanskrit terms for the poses. And this is partly because it's important to respect yoga's roots, but also because sometimes there are some poses which have more than one English name, and that can then be confusing because when someone refers to a pose, you're thinking of a particular pose. However, when someone else refers to it, it might be a different pose entirely. So when we use the Sanskrit name for the poses, usually there's only one Sanskrit name, so we know exactly what pose we're talking about and exactly what pose that we mean. It's also quite hard because of the vibrational essence of Sanskrit as a language. It's quite hard to directly translate Sanskrit into English. So there are interpretations that can be made and you can have an understanding of what is meant. However, because Sanskrit has that vibrational quality to it, when we say something in Sanskrit, we're able to convey the meaning just by the sound without having to go into, that logical brain that's translating it. So although we might be able to translate a little bit of the surface level meaning of the Sanskrit terms, we can't get that full part of like the vibration of the sound, the understanding and the feeling of what it means, and the kind of magic that exists when we use the Sanskrit terms. So I hope you find this video useful. If you would like me to break down some common Sanskrit terms that you might find within your yoga practice, I can do that in some follow-up videos if that's something that you would find useful. What I will say is that I am in no way an expert on Sanskrit, and if you're feeling that this video has sparked an interest in you and that you would like to learn more, there are many channels on YouTube that are amazing Indian creators who are introducing Sanskrit in a more in-depth and authentic way than I will ever be able to. So if you'd like to deepen your study of Sanskrit beyond just this surface level that will support you in your yoga practice, I really recommend that you go and you check them out. Let me know in the comments how you found this video. If you liked it, please thumbs up it, and I will see you in another video soon. Take care.